Now we're going to talk about ball placement. Before we do anything major, I want to maybe make your life a little bit easier because I'm going to point out some things that maybe you didn't know. First thing you need to understand is, and I'm going to include a video that I did with a comparison of my shooting and Michael Jordan's shooting to prove a point. When you shoot the basketball, the goal is not for you to reach the rim. It's not your job to reach the rim, okay? And that's what ball placement is. When we talk about ball placement, it's about in an attempt to put the ball in the right place. But let me ease your mind, make things a little bit easier for you to understand. Here, where we line up for free throws, we got one spot, two spots. At this second spot, there's a third line right here. This third line right here, this is as close as your shot will ever need to get to the basket. If you're shooting from out front, if you're shooting a half-court shot, three-pointer, free throw, mid-range jump shot, this right here is as close as your shot will ever need to get to the rim. Let's say you're shooting from the wing. This marker, this third line right here, as close as your shot will ever need to get to the basket. If you're shooting from the corner, the line that creates the free throw lane, close as your shot ever needs to get to the basket. I'll demonstrate it in a minute because I know it might be hard to believe, but it's true. What I have done is I've taken 5 feet off of every shot, every jump shot you'll ever take, showing you exactly where you have to put the basketball. But it's not one of those things where you got to finagle it or anything like that. When I teach you about timing, the timing mathematically with a little bit of physics that I won't go into because it's way too much, it will automatically put the basketball exactly where it needs to be when you shoot it. Okay? So once again, right here, close you'll ever need to get to the basket. When you're shooting from the sides or from the wing, the line that makes up the free throw lane, closest you'll ever need to get to the basket. But there are different heights for different shots. Anytime you shoot the basketball inside the three-point line, whether it's a free throw or mid-range jump shot, we have a cheat code in here. We have some spots that are on every basket in every gym you'll ever play in. If you shoot a shot inside the three-point line, that's considered mid-range. You shoot a free throw, that's considered mid-range. The highest height that your shot needs to reach is the height of that square right behind the basket, right behind the goal. The height of that square. So if I step inside the three-point line and I shoot that basketball, and this is as close as I need to get to the basket, that means that I only have to get my shot right there. That spot, right there. Not over there, not over there. I need to get my shot right there. So I need to be really good at getting my shot right there. So what does that tell you? Everything that I do, as far as my shot goes, my job is to get really, really good at putting the ball right there. Same thing out front. This is as close as your shot will need to get to the basket if you're inside the three-point line shooting a mid-range shot. Right here, you need to get really good at putting the ball right there. Because what happens after the ball gets right there? Technically, after it leaves your hand, there's nothing else you can do. There's nothing you can do that will affect your shot after it leaves your hand. Everything that can affect your shot is going to be done as far as you go, unless you get it blocked by somebody else or they interfere with the basket. But let's say everything pertains to you as a player. The only thing that can affect your shot is your setup and your release. So now we know exactly where the basketball needs to be for a mid-range shot. Well, what if I back up and I shoot a three-point shot? Still, the rules still apply. Right here, close as you need to get to the basket. If you're shooting from the sides, the lines that make up the paint are as close as your shot needs to get to the basket. The only thing that changes is the height of your shot, which now becomes height of the backboard. You shoot a three-pointer. Your shot needs to reach the height of the backboard right along this area. If your shot reaches the height of the backboard, if you're shooting from the three-point line out front, from the wing, from the corner, your shot must reach the backboard in order to have a chance to fall in. Why? Because when your distance from the basket changes, the height that you shoot the basketball has to change with that. But the placement where the ball needs to be, as far as here and here, never changes. Never changes. Your shot always needs to fall. If it starts falling after this point, it's going to be an air ball. It's probably going to go to the other side, or it's going to hit the far side of the rim. If it starts falling before it gets to this point, then you're going to shoot an air ball, or it may nick the side of the rim, but more than likely it won't go in. This is very important for two reasons. As a shooter, if you're somebody that's sitting on the sideline, watching your teammates shoot, if you understand the path of the shot, the falling point, where the shot needs to be when it starts falling, you can look at that shot and you can say, well, that's in. That's going in. Oh, that's going to be short. Oh, that's going to be long. Because of where the ball is supposed to fall. Same thing out, whether it's mid-range or a three-pointer. If this is where your shot needs to start falling, it needs to reach this point right here, this distance from the basket. If it starts falling before this point, it's going to be an air ball, or it's going to nick the front of the rim. If it starts falling too late after this point, it's going to hit the backboard, or it's going to hit the back of the rim. When you're practicing, working on mastering jump shooting, those cues right there will tell you what's going on with your shot. So what have we learned so far? First thing we learned is that you have to be consistent with your setup when it comes to your base and your release point. You need to decide as a shooter. Some people are taller. Some people are shorter. Some people have longer or shorter arms. Once you find out what works for you, maintain it. Every time you come up and go into your shot, if this is where I love to have my shot right here. If I get it right here, you can forget it. It's going in. Okay? Once you get to this point right here, be consistent. Every time you shoot the basketball, you can shoot 200 shots while you're practicing. When you get in a game, you may only get 5 or 6. So shoot those 5 or 6 with a consistent setup. The other thing that we learn is that we generate our power. When we generate our power, we catch the basketball, we drop our hips. As our hips come up. Once my elbow is pointed forward, it's time to go into my shot. Those are the things we've learned. And we've also learned ball placement. So your job is not to put the ball in the basket, but you got to shoot it straight, put it where it's supposed to go. Okay? So how do we do that? How do we, with basic math and a little bit of physics, how do I teach a 5th grader, a 4th grader, a 6th grader, a high school kid, an adult that's playing in college? How do I teach them to put the basketball where it's supposed to be every single time and make it easy and not too difficult to understand? Easy. 2 things: timing and height. I already told you where the height is. If you're inside the 3-point line, that's mid-range. So you need to get the basketball to the height of that square. If you're shooting outside the 3-point line, which would be a 3-pointer, then your height changes to the height of the backboard. If you want to step out and do a logo shot, well, guess what? Instead of the height of the backboard, we're going to have to go up maybe about 3 or 4 more feet. Because what does that do? It puts the ball consistently right here. How do we get it there? We got to get our timing down. We execute the proper timing in an attempt to put the basketball at whatever height we're shooting at, depending on what shot we're taking on the floor. Is it a logo shot? Is it a 3-pointer? Is it a mid-range shot? Okay? We get our timing down. This is the big secret to how you utilize your power. So how do we do it? It's easy, really. It's easy when you know how to do it. Basically, what's going on is, as far as timing goes, your shot release and your jump need to take place at the same time. This is what I mean when you do it without the basketball. Once you bring the basketball up, your cue to shoot is once your elbow is pointed forward, it's time to go into your shot. A lot of times your shooting will look like this. You start going into your shot once that elbow is pointed forward. But this is the key. When you jump, when you bring the basketball up, you're going to be coming up on the balls of your feet. Your feet will still be on the floor. Shot. But as you commit to your follow through, you jump. Simple as it gets. A lot of times when you miss shots, if you've got a consistent base, consistent release point, the only other thing that can throw your shot off is your timing. Timing is jump and follow through at the same time. That is one of the hardest things to get when it comes to teaching someone to shoot, because you've been taught to shoot the basketball directly into the rim, which that's a no-no. Okay? But now that I've taught you placement, exactly the exact height where the basketball needs to be, the exact distance where the ball needs to be as far as getting close to the rim. Now all you have to do is know when you're going to shoot. Elbows pointed forward. Once your elbow is pointed forward, go into your shot. You're generating this power here. Once you get to this point here, when you start following through, the force that you generated going up is now sent forward. When you follow through and release the shot, and you do that and put the ball at a certain height, what happens is the ball will continue to travel forward because you're shooting it out and away from your body. It will continue to travel forward, but it will travel forward and it will start to come down. And that's how it gets into the rim. The ball needs time to come down. It cannot start falling here because it's too close. It can't start falling here because it's going to be an air ball. If you execute the proper timing in an attempt, remember, in an attempt to reach the proper height, depending on what shot you're shooting, that's when you start making shots. So once again, your timing is very simple. You catch the basketball. You come off the dribble, or you catch it, however you receive the basketball. Once you receive it here, you start bringing your elbow up because your hips up. Bring the basketball up, hips moving at the same time. Everything nice and fluid. Okay? Once you get your elbow pointed straight ahead of you, it may not be perfectly straight, but once you get your elbow pointed, that's when you go into your shot. Now, as you're going into your shot, going into your follow through, you will be on the balls of your feet. It's going to look something like this. But as you follow through, that's when you jump, because if your feet don't leave the floor, the force that you generate will go right back down to the floor. You're actually, in order to jump, you have to push through the floor. You have to push through the floor so your body can go in the opposite direction. Okay? You cannot jump if you don't drop your hips and jump. Okay? If you push against the floor, you will go in the opposite direction. That's what a jump is. Press, create the force, then you release it by jumping. If you shoot the basketball, if you want to get better at the basketball and you want to generate the proper amount of power, you cannot utilize it if your feet don't leave the floor. So if you're shooting, if you're doing all this work and you do this right here and your feet never leave the floor, chances are you're shooting with your legs a little bit. You can get away with that at the free throw line because you have to be stationary anyway. So you're going to push through your hips as the ball is coming out anyway. But if you're shooting a jump shot, you're going to need to jump. And I only jump that high. I don't jump that high. You don't need to. I don't need to jump that high. I just need for my feet to leave the floor so that I can utilize that force that I've generated. Okay? Lastly, the only thing that needs to move in your upper body when you're shooting the basketball is your wrist. Basketball's here. At this point right here, your wrist needs to be the only thing that moves. If your forearm moves, your upper arm moves, it's going to take away from your shot. Your shot may start to fall here, here, or here because of this right here. When you start raising and lowering your shot, your release point, and your base, you start moving those things, it's going to change where the ball starts to fall. Okay? You have to, it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel weird when you start shooting like this. Even some really good high school shooters, or whoever you consider the best shooter on your team, if you will change this right here, if you would just add this to what you already do, realize that you have all the power you need, and you'll be able to maintain your form as you start moving to different areas on the floor. So once again, once you get to the point where you are at your release point is the only thing that needs to move. When you follow through on your shot, your elbow will come up naturally on the follow through. Here, it'll come up naturally. You don't want to force it up. You don't want to try to raise your shot up, stretching your arm out. You don't want to move your forearm forward in your shot, okay? You don't want it back here, definitely, but you want to become familiar. I mean, you just want to get comfortable where you like to get the shot. If you like to have the ball here when you release it, then just practice putting the ball in your hand and just all you got to do is just bring your elbow back to the back of your body and just get comfortable. And you know that this is where you like to have that basketball. So when you get to this point right here, nothing needs to move except for your wrist. If anything else is moving other than your wrist at the top of your shot, then it's going to throw your shot off. So your eyes are going to tell you exactly where the ball needs to be. Down the middle of the rim, that's what keeps it straight. The square behind the rim, top of the backboard, a spot slightly higher than the backboard is going to tell you the height where your shot needs to be, depending on what shot you're taking, whether it's mid-range, three-pointer, or an extended range. At the top of your shot, when you shoot, your wrist can be the only thing moving on your shot. Here, that's it. This is how you can practice your shot without the basketball, getting comfortable with your setup and everything. I would do this a few times in 10 minutes at home in the gym, because you don't have to be in the gym to practice shooting, but practice on your setup and your release and everything. 10 minutes. Every minute, try to get about 15 or 20 reps in. Take a minute break. Go back to it. You'll get more reps in doing that than you probably ever will in a gym. And you do that for about a 10-minute stretch. But you'll get a lot of reps in that way. Because now, if you can do this consistently, all I have to do is put a basketball in your hand.